Gail, turn that down.
Welcome to Last Call. That's Mike. I'm Dean. I do want to get to some of those tweets, but first, I just want to welcome everybody in and wish everybody, today is MLK Day. We are celebrating the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King, an important, obviously, day for all of us right now. And we're going to pop something up on the screen. I did have the opportunity to, in the 2017 National Championship game in Atlanta, I had the opportunity with some of the officiating crew to go to the Martin Luther King Jr. Center in Atlanta. It was an unbelievable experience. So many things I highly recommend if you can get to Atlanta and check it out. The Freedom Hall, Dr. King, the library and the archives. It's an amazing experience. And please, 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 if you get an opportunity, check it out. And if you want to donate to the King Center, you can go to kingcenter.org, or you can text MLK Day to 44321.
And I'll tell you, last year, Dean, I went with Richie Zients and a couple members of our production crew in Washington in a game there. Went to the new Black History Museum there. Just an incredible place to go and really to learn. I mean, to learn a lot about the history of what's going on in slavery, where it came from. Fascinating stuff. And man, I'm telling you, with all the events there are, all the places there are to see in Washington, I would strongly suggest to go to the Black History Museum. When it reopens, it's temporarily closed, but when it reopens, it's a great place to see. But hey, let's talk a little bit about football, huh? I mean, we got to talk about, a pass to Michael Thomas. Was it interference? It was an interception, big play that took the ball down to the 3-yard line. A push, a shove, a grab. Was it not? And then we're going to look at a couple of great plays. Darius Williams, a great defensive play in the game against the Packers. And we'll look at the Lamar Jackson hit and the intentional grounding and how that all came about. But I think we have to really probably end up having most of the discussion about what happened in the Browns-Chiefs game at the goal line, and the fumble and the touchback. I'll let you start it.
Yeah, and you had 4 games. This is really the only controversy of the week. It was a pretty good weekend for officiating and officials, and this is obviously a big play. A couple of things here, and I want to start with the rule itself, because every time this happens, the outrage on social media, within more traditional media, about this being the worst rule in football. And I very much disagree with that. This is a very consistent rule. This has been the case for a long, long time. It's the same rule at all levels of football. When you put a loose ball into your opponent's end zone and you don't recover it, if it's a fumble, a backward pass, that's a touchback, right? A kickoff, a punt, those are touchbacks, because it's that team that's putting the ball into their opponent's end zone. And the end zone is different. The goal line is different. It's different than the 50-yard line, because if you fumble into your opponent's end zone and the fumbling player recovers it, it's always a touchdown. And other than 4th down or inside 2 minutes, any player on the offense can recover it, and it's a touchdown. So that's a high reward play. There has to be, at least in my opinion, some risk to fumbling the ball into your opponent's end zone. The onus is to recover that football. If it goes out of bounds, just like a punt or a kickoff, it's a touchback. So to me, the rule is a good rule. And it's just, I know, I get it. I get people think it's too punitive. Now let's talk about the hit. Look, it is a foul. We've put this rule in, use of helmet. You can't lower your head and initiate contact with the helmet. So if you look at the rule book language, it's tough to say this isn't a foul. But to ask the official to officiate all of these elements in real time, you've got a catch, you've got the goal line, you've got a loose ball. Is it a touchdown? Is it a fumble short of the goal line? And now you have to look at the hit. That's very difficult to do in real time. It's easy for us to look at the replays and say, yeah, that's a foul. It is a foul. If it's called, Cleveland's going to keep the football. There would be no touchback. They would get the ball half the distance from the spot of the fumble, but it would be 1st and goal, not a big distance penalty because they were so close. But again, we're asking so much of the game official in real time to see that when it happens so quickly. So again, and I'll ask this, I'll pose you this question as you talk about this play. Where is replay? Is this something that the competition committee and the league should look at rather than pass interference? And we saw how that went. Maybe some of these hits on defenseless players or use of helmet, player safety rules, should those be reviewable?
Listen, I mean, I'm one that's really sick of adding more and more to replay. I mean, I think if you look at this one play and say, okay, hey, listen, should we make this reviewable in replay? Then you got to worry about all the other hits around the field. And you're not just talking about, hits on receivers or runners like this. What about the hits in the interior line play? I mean, where are we going to go in replay here? I said in a radio show this morning, I watched a game from 1998. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was a year before replay got put in. There were no interruptions. There were less replays being shown on television because we didn't have stops for replay. I think we're just creating a further mess with replay when we go adding more and more plays. And to say, okay, we're going to open this up for a coach to challenge, then has he got to think about, if there's no turnover involved, does he got to think about, do I want to challenge this? Or was that a hit? Did he use the helmet? Did he not? I mean, it's insane. We always seem to overreact to one play if, in fact, they were to change this, which I don't think they will. And it goes back to what you were talking about in the fumble rule into the end zone. I totally agree with you. A name that nobody knows, right? What is that name from the competition committee? You'll get it, right? Who always pushed for this?
Who pushed for the change?
Yes, who pushed for the change?
Oh, there's been so many, but I don't remember who on the competition.
Kenny Fiore, come on.
Oh, Kenny. Oh, well, he's not technically on the committee.
I said at the meeting he would. Kenny Fiore would say this all the time. He would fight, and it would get about 30 seconds of discussion every year, as a matter of fact, because you are right. It's different if you put the ball into your opponent's end zone, period. It should be more punitive. And I don't even like to talk about that because I would not believe it would ever change. But when the personal foul thing is the time to maybe look at a sky judge who could get involved and look at it, and maybe for the egregious ones, maybe. But I just think we're taking more and more off the field. That hit to me is not as egregious. I mean, the hit that was called, remember last night we had a hit that was called in the game involving the Saints and the Buccaneers. That one was called, and if you're going to call that one, I guess you have to call this one, even though I don't even think this one was that egregious, as a matter of fact. But so be it. Please don't add it to replay.
Let me a couple of things here. I just want to come back a couple of things. One thing, I'm going to be the guy in the Progressive commercials, being your parents. Everybody has a mute button on your phone mic. We all have it, so you can mute. So we're not hearing your text messages. We're not hearing your text messages.
Right after I hit it on the side, right after that.
Very good, very good. Yeah, second thing, you mentioned 1998 and how beautiful it was. It wasn't that beautiful when we were watching Vinny Testaverde score the game-winning touchdown against the Seahawks to beat the Seahawks and to knock them out of the playoffs. And
that's the only damn reason why we have replay.
That was not fun at all on 4th and goal. But here's the deal. And when it comes to replay, and I don't disagree with you, I think we have to draw a line. You can't add everything to replay. There has to be a balance. The game is played by human beings and coached by humans and officiated by humans. But the reality is the technology continues to push and drive this forward. So I think we are going to see it at some point. I don't know if that's next year or 3 years from now. I just think the technology and the magnitude of these plays and the pressure and everything that goes into it, we're going to see it at some point. And again, it's easy to say that one play would get changed, but the thing that everybody has to remember, like Mike said, is it would be easy in one instance, but now you're opening it up and maybe there's 50 more where it's not so easy. And now we're debating it. So we just have to be careful. But let's move on and let's go. We'll start a couple of great defensive plays. This was first was the Tampa New Orleans game. I think a lot of people, especially Saints fans, thought this was pass interference. Mike, this was your game. What did you see here in this situation?
Hey, listen, I thought it's just a physical play in press defense. I mean, You're certainly going to get Michael Thomas that tries to throw Murphy Bunting to the inside, and a legal play, by the way, since it happened at the line of scrimmage. And then Murphy Bunting kind of gets a quick grab, but is there enough? Is it clear and obvious to say that it's either defensive holding or defensive pass interference? No, I mean, it's just not. And look at the game. That's the way the game is being officiated now. It's not clear and obvious. You could say, you could make a case that it might be. And when you look at some of the tweets, they'll say skeptical, some of those types of things. But, to me, this is a physical defensive play, and it shouldn't have been called. I don't think it's enough for a foul. People say, and then after the interception, he grabbed the face mask. Well, he did. He did. You saw that in the one picture. He actually grasped the face mask, but then he let it go real quick he's got to, even after he grasps it, he's got to turn it. He's got to pull the head. He's got to do something with it, which he didn't do. So we want to create fouls and put fouls on plays when there really aren't any. So to me, I think it was a clean play.
Yeah, and I agree. I thought it was a clean play. Obviously, there was a lot of contact. I think the fact that the pass was intercepted had a lot to do with the outcry. I think if it's just an incomplete pass, it's not that big a deal. There's going to be these receivers today, especially. I remember being in the competition committee meetings, as recently as 4 or 5 years ago, where we were talking about what receivers are doing, especially to get off of press coverage, man-to-man, what they're doing with their hands, what they're allowed to do, within 1 yard, because once you go beyond a yard, if you push off or you block, that would be offensive pass interference. So there's a lot of contact going on both sides. I think, again, Thomas tries to get off, get a good release. Bunting is gonna try to get his hands on Thomas, and then it's just hand fighting. He makes a good defensive play, and after the interception, even if that was called, which I don't see it as a foul, the face mask, he grabs it and releases it immediately. Look, the Tampa's going to keep the football. It's not going to negate the interception. So I just thought it was a good defensive play, and pretty much for the like I mentioned earlier, a really well officiated weekend and not a lot of controversy. And again, this idea of clear and obvious, we've always seen in the playoffs, the foul numbers tend to dip, right? And we've always tried to study that and say, why? Why, if we're averaging 15 fouls a game in the regular season, why does it every year go to 12 or 13? Well, a couple of factors, right? The better teams, in theory, make the playoffs. They foul less. They realize that what's at stake, you win or go home. So they're going to not take unnecessary, penalties, things like that. So I think that's part of it, the discipline of the clubs. I think you have, in theory, your best officials, and they're going to only call the fouls that are there. So we've always seen that, but I think it was overall a good weekend. And then moving on, similar type play, going to our earlier game on Saturday, the Packers and the Rams. Great defensive play by Darius Williams. What did you see on this one, Mike?
I think what I see is a great no call by the officials, because actually Darius Williams is going to grab the jersey there, but the ball's already in the air, and you have to significantly affect the receiver's ability to make the catch, and he doesn't. So he makes a great defensive play, and we see that. We see that so many times with these defensive backs. And let's remember that there are two standards here. There's a standard before the pass is thrown, when you cannot grab the jersey, but then there's the standard when the ball is in the air. A little tug like this that doesn't significantly hinder the receiver is not a foul. So to me, Darius Williams makes a great defensive play. And if you're looking at it from the official standpoint and you're trying to find a significant hindrance there of the receiver, you'll see the arm on the arm, but nothing major that would want them to make the call. And I think they made a great decision not making the call.
It highlights, we have 4 games, you have 155 plays a game. The number of decisions that are being made during each down by each official, right? The official that's watching that interaction, that official has to look at the grab initially before the ball in the air. Is there a grab? Is there a hold? Now the ball's in the air. They have to transition to pass interference. Is that enough to restrict the receiver's ability, significantly hinder? All of those things. One official's making 4 or 5 decisions on every play. Do the math. It's thousands and thousands of decisions that are made each game. And what do we want to talk about? We want to talk about one play that we all had the benefit of 17 different angles. So they're doing an amazing job, and it's a difficult job. And again, it's a great no call by that official. Great defensive play, great no call. And sometimes that goes unnoticed. So we're trying to highlight that with these still shots. I wish we could use some video. Bondo, our executive producer, hopefully one of these days we can use some actual moving video in 2021 and we're not stuck in 1940. But anyway, great no call by the official, but we got to move on.
Man, I hope they don't reduce our salaries, Dean, so they can pay for that extra video.
Well, exactly. We got to worry about that, but we got to move on. And you knew it was coming, Mike. You knew it was coming. You knew we had to talk about it because
the Bills? Can't be the Bills. There was nothing.
Yes, you knew it was coming. I'll let you intro this one because I have to gather my thoughts because of where we're going with this.
Okay, let's see. The Bills won. They beat the Ravens. Oh, there was an intentional grounding call that was so obvious. We probably ought to put that on here. This is Lamar Jackson, who, by the way, is in the pocket. He wasn't out of the pocket. But people probably don't know that the pocket goes tackle to tackle all the way to the end line. And just before he got to the goal line, Jackson threw the ball out to an area where no one was. And even if it had been out of the pocket, it didn't get back to the line of scrimmage. So it was intentional grounding. Let's try to find something good in the call. Oh, I know what was good in the call is that umpire Fred Bryant, I thought did a real good job on this play, because what he did, he immediately went right to the 1 yard line where the ball was released. The pass was released because Carl Cheppers, the referee, he's going to stay with the hit on Lamar Jackson. And I think maybe Stephen Bondo thought it might have been a foul, and maybe that's why he put it on here. But it's not roughing the passer. But Fred Bryant did a terrific job of going right to the spot where it was released so that it was not a safety. It's where the passer is when the ball leaves his hand, and it was in the field of play. Dean, I don't think I can invent anything more to say about this.
No, you know what was interesting, and I think it's very unusual that the ball is snapped over the quarterback's head and it stays in the pocket, which it did. It didn't bounce outside the pocket. The ball was snapped in the middle of the field, and it actually stayed just inside the right hash. Lamar picked it up. So obviously, if he's not outside the pocket, he has to get the ball in an area with an eligible receiver, not just to the line of scrimmage. Good call for grounding. Great job by Fred Bryant getting the spot. It's not a safety because it took place in the field of play. But I think the bigger news coming out of this game, right? There was a challenge thrown down before the game on social media. Okay, I was challenged. I was offered a bet by Christy Bond, Stephen Bond's mom, our executive producer's mom. She challenged me. She offered me a bet. Ravens, Bills. She took the Bills. I took the Ravens. If the Ravens won, she was going to give me what I think is a lifetime supply of Double Bubble, which is my favorite chewing gum. If the Bills won, she was going to have use of my beach house. Now, I don't have a beach house. I do live close to the beach. We can rent a beach house, but to me, it was a win-win. It's a no-lose proposition. If the Ravens win, I get the Double Bubble. If the Bills win, I get to spend time at the beach house with Bondo's mom, which she's my new BFF. And Bondo, I just want to share this with you. She's been sending me some pictures. This is a picture of you back in the day, Spectrum News, Stephen Bond doing a little play-by-play action. Look at him. He looks like he's about 12. That was 6 months ago? But anyway, Christy, you won the bet. Let me know when you're coming to the beach. We'll have a party. Bondo can come as well. But to me, that was the big news coming out of the game.
Jiminy Christmas. We need more than just 4 games on a weekend. Dean's right. They were well officiated. There wasn't much to talk about. We spent more time on Bondo's mom than we did on practically any.
But we do have one more thing to share.
I know. This is great.
An uncalled, unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. This was the one and only TB12, Tom Brady, trying to give, and I think that's Tom Steven, a high five the official. And like any good official, you don't want to show any bias. You don't want to show any favoritism. I know a lot of people think Tom Brady gets all the calls. He did not respond with a high five. So he left TB12 hanging in that situation. Is that a foul, Mike?
God, no, please. What are we doing here? More interesting to me is, I mean, what if Tom would have reacted and high-fived him as he walked off the field? What would you have done in your day as the head of officiating? What would you have said to Tom Stephen?
I probably would have, I probably would have told Tom, hey, listen, next time, just don't high five him. Not a big deal. It's going to be, you're going to be a meme. You're going to be on social media, but next time, just, just wink at him, do whatever. Don't high five him, because listen, we joke about it. There have been clubs. I remember getting calls from a club before a game that an official in the tunnel fist bumped a player on the opponent. And they were upset that player went up to the official just in passing, gave him a fist bump. The official responded. And that's how deep this goes with these clubs sometimes. They are looking for any advantage. They're looking for, it's so competitive. So again, it seems like a little thing, but you just tell the officials, I don't care if it's Tom Brady, whoever, just don't high five him. And I think Tom did.
We were talking on our show here in San Francisco today. They said, has that ever happened? I said, Pete Morelli from Stockton, who's a referee, he got caught on video before a game hugging a Tampa Bay Buck player, Doug Martin, hugged him. And of course, I got all kinds of flack about that. What about that? Well, the fact was, as I said, Doug Martin, who was the running back for the Bucks, he went to St. Mary's High School, where Pete Morelli was the principal. So they've known each other for years and years and years and years. I think people get a little overly suspicious when it comes to this kind of stuff. But good for Tom Stephan for showing that restraint.
All right. Well, that's the show. I think we've got one more left. One more after the championship games. We're expecting a really good weekend. Clete Blakeman and Bill Vinovich are your referees. It's going to be an amazing weekend. Again, that's Mike. I'm Dean. Please, please, please check out Fox Sports Voices MLK Day special today at 2 p.m. Pacific, celebrating Dr. King's life and legacy on this very important day, MLK Day. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.
In honor of Martin Luther King Day, Fox Sports presents Voices, the hour-long special hosted by Kurt Menefee and Michael Strahan that illuminates the efforts of athletes creating change in their communities. Fox Sports Voices, today at 5 Eastern on Fox and the Fox Sports app.